I don't think. Maybe now you've mentioned it, maybe a tiny bit less, but not really.
Because it makes a lot of difference if I can use this phone rather than the iPhone, which uses juice up very, very quickly.
It's fine. Let me just check what my volume's on. Hang on, because it may also be my end. Yeah. To say something else.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Oh, yeah,
Hare Bol.
Perfect.
Really?
Perfect. Yeah,
it's great. No problem at all.
Thank you.
We're live.
Okay. Okay.
Do you want to do Jayadvani Maharaj?
Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhavika Girid Hari Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vamana Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shira Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Gaudi Acharya Ki Jai. Jai Rasik Sirumani Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan, Shri Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal, Bhattadasa Raghunath, Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar, Rai Ramananda Gaura Parsada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikha Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Jamuna Ki Jai, Brihat Mridanga Ki Jai, Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Nam Bhajan Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai, Nrsingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai, Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Godandvip Matadvip Koladvip Ritadvip Janadvip Nodadvip Rudvip Atmagan Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jai Badravan, Bandiravan, Bailvan, Lohavan, Mahavan, Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, Bahulavan, Vrindavan, Kamiyavan, Kadirvan, Vraja-mandala Ki Jai. Shri 2021 Parikrama Ki Jai. Avyabhav Shri Rupa Siddhanti Maharaj Ki Jai. Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Srila Gurudev Centennial Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. That's it, Taran.
I'm just asking Prabhuji to unmute and then you can introduce the kirtan.
Is my sound good? Is my sound okay, Prabhuji?
Yes, very good.
Okay. You can even put it on the screen if you want, the bhajan. So everybody can. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Ebar karuna karo Vaishnava Goswami Ebar karuna karo Vaishnava Gosha Patita Pavana Toma Bene Kehona Patita Pavana Toma Bene Kehona Ebar Karuna Karo Vaishnava Gosha Kaharani Kate Gele Papa Dure Jai Kaharani Kate Gele Papa Dure Jai Hey Mona Dayala Prabhu Ke Bakotha Hey Mona Dayala Prabhu Ke Bakotha Ebar Karuna Karo Vaishnava Gosha Ebar Karuna Karo Vaishnava Gosha Gangara Parasha Hoile Paschate Pavana Gangara Parasha Hoile Paschate Pavana Darshane Pavitra Karo Tumara Guna Darshane Pavitra Karo Tumaro Guna Ebar Karuna Karo Vaishnava Gosha Ebar Karuna Karo Vaishnava Gosha Haristhane Aparadhe Tare Hari Nama Haristhane Aparadhe Tare Hari Nama Tomasthane Aparadhe Nahi ko edan Tomasthane Aparadhe Nahi ko edan Ebar Karuna Karo Vaishnava Gosha Tomar Hridaye Shoda Govinda Vishram Govinda Vishram 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 तुम्हारो हृदय सदा गोविंद विश्राम गोविंद कहे ना ममा वैष्णव प्राण गोविंद कहे ना ममा वैष्णव प्राण वेई बार करुणा करो वैष्णव गोसाई प्रति जन्म कोरी आशा चरणेर धूली प्रति जन्मे कोरी आशा चरणेर धूली नरोत्तमे करो दया अपनार बोली नरोत्तमे करो दया अपनार बोली এইবার করুণা করো वैष्णव गोसाई এইবার করুণা করো वैष्णव गोसाई जय वैष्णव गोसाई वैष्णव गोसाई वैष्णव गोसाई जय वैष्णव गोसाई जय वैष्णव गोसाई वैष्णव गोसाई वैष्णव गोसाई जय वैष्णव गोसाई गुरुदेव 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 जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि 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 बोल
Hey, Ball.
हरि
Thank you very much for your kirtan, Prabhu. Om Gyana Timurandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya
Karan
Chakshur.
Prabhu Maharaj ji is saying something.
Okay.
You should read the translation, Prabhu. You please read. Yes, you can read the translation.
Okay. Okay. So এইবার করুণ Gosai. O Vaishnava Gosai, be merciful to me now. You are the savior of my fallen soul, of the fallen souls. Except for you, there is no one. Then, where can one find such a merciful personality by whose mere proximity one's sins go far away? Only after touching the Ganga does one become purified, but simply by seeing you, one becomes purified. One is purified. This is your great quality. Then the third one, offenses committed at the lotus feet of Sri Hari are absolved by Harinam, but for offenses against you, there is absolutely no means of deliverance. Sri Govinda is always resting in your heart. Govinda thus says, the Vaishnavas are my life and soul. Then the last one, Prati Janme Kori Asa. In every birth, I aspire for the dust of your lotus feet. Be compassionate to this Narottam Das and me your own. This bhajan is actually from Narottam Das.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
My English is not as fluent, Maharaji, but I'm trying.
No problem. You gave the meaning. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Kara Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So before beginning, I'd like to offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Gosvami Maharaja, to the lotus feet of my Param Gurudevs, Srila Bhakti Gosvami Maharaj, and Srila Bhakti Gosvami Maharaj, to the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the lotus feet of our entire Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varg, to all Vaishnavis, and all present here today, I offer my Dandavat pranams. So today is a very auspicious day for this month of Kartik. It's the 21st day of our Zoom Parikrama, but today is especially auspicious because it is the appearance day of a very important Vaishnav, Srila Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti Gosvami Maharaja. So for the first section of this Zoom call, we'll be hearing his glorification, and if we have further time, we will go on to continuing our study of Damodar Ashtakam. So before I hand over to Pujapat Chidandi Maharaj, who is speaking for the whole time, we have a brief video to share. That's right, Maharaj.
Correct. Okay.
Okay, so I will share that now. Okay, this one here.
Sujanar Dugaradhit Padayugam Yugadharma Dhuran Harapasravaram Sujanar Dugaradhit Padayugam Yugadharma Dhuran Harapasravaram Varoda Bhayodayaka Pujya Padam Varoda Bhayodayaka Pujya Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam Bhajanorjita Sajjana Sanghapatim Patitadhik Karunikaika Gatim Bhajanorjita Sajjana Sanghapatim Patitadhik Karunikaika Gatim Gati Vanchita Vanchaka Chinta Padam Gati Vanchita Vanchaka Chinta Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam Oti Komala Kanchana Dirghatanum Tanunindita He মদনার্বুদ বন্দিত চন্দ্র পদম মদনার্বুদ বন্দিত চন্দ্র পদম প্রণমামি সদা প্রভু পাদ পদম প্রণমামি সদা প্রভু পাদ পদম প্রণমামি সদা প্রভু পাদ পদম।
Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tara Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshai Shiptasya Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripamayi Tvam Sharanam Prapanam Brindaya Namaste Charanadavindam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Sarashishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Sarashishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And on this most auspicious occasion of the Avirbhav of such a great personality as Sri Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti Maharaj, his appearance day today, we are honoring him and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya. I'm offering my prostrated Dandavat pranams to all of them and to all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees on this thread today. I'm offering my Dandavat pranams, and to anyone who may be listening at any future time, my prostrated Dandavat pranams to all of you. So thank you all again for coming for another day of Parikrama. It's quite interesting to consider that we're up to the 21st day, I believe. That's 3 weeks in. So how remarkable that we've had 3 days of Vaishnava Vandanam right at the 2/3 point of our Parikrama, just to keep us on completely even, steady keel, because we've been diving into so many remarkable pastimes. We've been swimming, basically. Ididriksva Lilavya, Ananda Kunde, all these different leelas. We've been hearing about Madhuvan, Talvan, Bahulavan, Kamudvan, about Kalyakrida, all of these different leelas we've been hearing. And for 3 days, we've heard, or for 2 days rather, we've heard glorification of the Vaishnavas. 2 days ago, we heard the glorification of Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj and our dear Srila Bhaktivedanta Srila Trivikram Maharaj. And at the same time, we included glorification of my beloved Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, because the 3 of these personalities are integrally connected. So we had, in a sense, 3 personalities. And then yesterday, we had Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. But we also accentuated the speciality of his Guru Nishta to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. So we were also reflecting on his glories simultaneously. So we're getting a package of the prominence and speciality and importance of the Vaishnava current. And I think at this point, it's helpful just to see historically the current, how it's actually flowing. So if Taranji would like to put the Lord Brahma's day on the screen, I'd just like to share with you something here. Yes, you see this map? I hope many of you have seen it before. It's been around for a couple of decades now. It was actually originally created by Janti Maladasi, and then I took it and expanded it a little bit more. But this is an incredible map showing us where we are at we're in the 7th Manmantara, where the red arrow is going up. So there's 14 manus in a day of Lord Brahma. I'm trying to get us in the right perspective to glorify this personality today and where he comes in historically in time, and where all these other great acharyas we've been glorifying, where is that current coming from? So in the whole day, what's that, 3 billion years, 3 billion years in a day of Lord Brahma. So we're at the 7th Manvantara, and on that red line is where Krishna appears in the 7th Manvantara. And immediately after him, of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has to manifest to tell us who was Krishna. Otherwise, nobody would know who was Krishna and what was his intention of dancing with other women's wives, in particular, Parikrama Ras, and to give us Bhakti Ras. So this is happening in this 7th Manvantara. So thank you, Tarun. So the devotees can appreciate the historic significance of where we are up to in the time frame of Lord Brahma's day. And now we bring it up to the present. So Tarunji, you can show that guru diagram. No? Yes, that one. Yes. So this is not a very good map, by the way. If somebody is a graphic artist who's watching this program or listening today, I'm personally not fully satisfied with this at all, because it doesn't have Veda Vyas, it doesn't have Shukadev, it doesn't have Narad, it doesn't have so many other personalities who represent the current, the core current that's coming from Mahaprabhu and Radha and Krishna. We are just starting specifically with the Gaudiya Sampradayas. This is what this map is intended to demonstrate. But it would be nice to see the entirety of the current of bhakti into the conditioned world where we find ourselves. But here is the Gaudiya Sampradayas are being depicted with, of course, first the 6 Goswamis, and then there's quite a few missing there. There's Srila Krishna's Kaviraj, of course, and Narottam, Srinivas, Shyamananda, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, so many different personalities. And someone just said something about, yes, 3.23 billion years. Isn't that what I said?
Yeah, it's 4.32 billion, Marsh.
Oh, yes. Yes,
not 3.32
billion. 8,640,000,000 years constitute a day of Lord Brahma. So half of that is 4 billion, 320 million years. Sorry for that, please, important correction. We should have our mathematics on this because we have the information, so we should know it. We shouldn't speculate or shouldn't be saying anything incorrect about this. This is a phenomena of our gifts that we're given from Shastra, is the exactitude of all of these phenomenal revelations coming directly, ultimately from Sri Krishna, but coming through Lord Brahma and all this Rupa Nuga, all this Guru Parampara. So we start from the 6 Goswami. So this is our Rupa Nuga line. So essential to appreciate where we are coming. This is like a family. We should see it as non-different to a family. This is our parivar. This is our family, our Gaudiya lineage. We are in this tight embrace of the instructions and directions of these illustrious personalities. So Rupa Goswami specifically is the principal inaugurator of the precepts of Bhakti Ras. He was the personality who gave us the language of Bhakti Ras. He gave us the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He gave us the Ujjvala Nilamani. He gave us these specific scriptures that were categorizing the nuances, we can say, or the aspects of the relationship between Radha and Krishna for the sadhaks to gradually become qualified to dive into. And then all the other Goswamis, certainly Sanatan Goswami and Jiva Goswami and Raghunath Das and Gopal Bhatta Goswami, certainly opened this out even more. But the original was Srila Rupa Goswami. So we never lose sight of this focus of where we are originating from. Don't think that, oh, I am just in a separate little bubble. I only follow Bhaktivedanta Srila Narayan Maharaj and I don't listen to anything else, or I just follow the ISKCON Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and I don't pay attention to our current or our lineage, where we are coming from, who we are indebted to for these personalities, because all of these personalities are the repository of the teachings coming from this current, starting with Srila Rupa Goswami, the closest associate of Srimati Radhika. This whole current is manifesting from her. This is her Gaudiya line. The power, the infusion of her Shakti is no doubt resonating through this line, because all of the personalities, the principal personalities in this line, they've all revealed their affiliation and total nishta towards Sri Radhika. They're all maidservants of Sri Radhika. We see Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in this map beaming through, and he expresses in so many of his poems his nishta, his utter nishta to Srimati Radhika, Vrishabhanu Sutta. So many beautiful bhajans he's given to the world, demonstrating the principal focus of the sadhak's aspiration and attention to focus on Sri Radhika and the love that she holds for Sri Krishna is what Mahaprabhu has come to reveal in the hearts of the conditioned souls, which is absolutely phenomenal. I showed you that map just previously of the day of Lord Brahma. 4,320,000,000 years. Only once does this opportunity come when Sachinandan Gaura Hari will manifest. Only once does Krishna come. Brajendranandan, Shyam Sundar. Many incarnations of Krishna come. Matsya, Kurma, Nrsimha, etc. Varahadev. So many incarnations, like waves in the ocean. But only one time is Brajendranandan, Shyam Sundar manifesting. And then straight after him, just 5,000 years after him, which is practically like not even a breath, not even a blink, Mahaprabhu immediately manifests his pastimes to explain to us, as I just said previously, who is Krishna. Otherwise, it would just go over our heads. We wouldn't know. We wouldn't have access into the teachings and appreciations of Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar. We wouldn't know about Parakiya Ras. So Parakiya Ras is incredibly confidential. So it requires a confidential sampradaya, we can say, a confidential current. So the essential teachings of Bhakti Ras are confidential. The principal distribution of Bhakti, etc., Vaidhi Bhakti, is very much prominently distributed. But once that has been imbibed in the practitioner's heart, then naturally questions further about the relationship between Radha and Krishna is going to come up in their consciousnesses automatically. Why? Because of the power of the particular process that we have, which is to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It is the Mahamantra itself that contains the power to ignite and inspire the hearts of the practitioners of this path with inquisitiveness initially, and then great dedication to the path of Vrindavan Dham, to the path of that we are walking at the moment in our Parikrama, to the path of feeling comfortable with Vrindavan Dham itself. Just like I tried to share with you much at the beginning about the geography, just the material geography of Vrindavan is like a key which gets us into the actual mandal of Vrindavan, and then to know the different forests in Vrindavan, and then to know the different pastimes in the different forests, and which Ishtadev is prominent. For example, on the eastern side, it's principally Baladev Prabhu, and on the western side, it's predominantly Sri Krishna. And then understanding where are the most esoteric places, like Radhakund, where we just went a couple of days ago. And we came to, in Govardhan itself, in the Rasa Leela pastime, in Vamsivat, all of these really esoteric, how can we understand these pastimes even a little bit without the mercy of these divine acharyas, giving us direction and guidance? So today, for the third day in a row, we're having an opportunity to glorify Sri Guru in essence. So Sri Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti Maharaj, he epitomizes this Guru Nishta. And we see where is his focus. His focus is on Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati entirely. We just had this beautiful song in this incredible bhajan, astakam. How do we describe that song? This astakam, I think it's got more verses than 8. So this beautiful prayer that Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj has dedicated to his Gurudev. So we're remembering him also. So by remembering all of these personalities, then we can develop some affiliation with this Gaudiya line, just as we're endeavoring to develop a relationship with Vrindavan by traveling around on our Parikrama, going to all these places. Simultaneously, we want to develop not a familiarity in a overstepping the boundaries, so to speak, of honor and respect, but an intimacy of relationship with these personalities. So the more we talk about them, the more we hear about them, the more we discuss their glories, the more obviously they will come alive in our consciousnesses. Because I've said so many times that quote from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die when thou art living still in sound. I was just thinking yesterday, we were glorifying Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada's tremendous feats on the planet. But if we think for a single moment that his potency has disappeared because he's disappeared, this is a very ignorant vision. He is alive, and his potency and his teachings are completely resonating in the hearts of all those serious practitioners who will read his purports, hear his commentaries, etc. And exactly the same for Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, and exactly the same, of course, for Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and all the Goswamis. We should be daily remembering these personalities. I can remember when Pujapad Bhakti Ballabh Tirtha Maharaj, when he would recite the Guru Vandanam, I don't know whether any of you will remember, he would say, Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivarakacharya Asto Tadasarashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Dvaita Madhav Goswami Maharaj. And you could hear in his whole presentation, every single personality, he would be fully immersed in consciousness of that personality. Sometimes when we're younger, we just want to crank out the pranam mantras, basically. But this is a great misfortune for us, because every single personality has their speciality, and just by their names, the name is incredibly powerful. Each name is so potent. So today, we're particularly remembering Srila Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti Maharaj. Oh, Tarunji, you can put a photo of him for the devotees to see. Yes. So this is that personality whose appearance date is today. We should remember another thing also, that Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, he has practically mandated, not requested, he's mandated without glorifying the appearance and disappearance days of the various Vaishnava acharyas during the year, it is tantamount to an offense. It's an aparad to walk past these different personalities. And I never knew this before Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj put this understanding on the map, so to speak. And since he did, for the last 3 or 4 years, I was sharing with Madhubrat some time before in Brighton how, you know, we are actually doing that on all the appearance and disappearance, and how much more knowledgeable or appreciating have I become of all these different personalities. They're no longer just names in a list, but they are exceptional personalities, especially when we're considering the disciples of Srila Bhakti Siddhanti Saraswati Gosvami Prabhupada. Because you may remember and recall when he was taking that vow, that celebrated vow to chant 1 billion names, I think it was. Someone can correct me, maybe it was 10 billion names, but I think it was 1 billion names. And during that brat, I think after 8 or 9 years, he had a vision of the Panchatattva. And they told him about his mission. He could see it was a revelation of the path and the mission, why he had come to this world. And he questioned at that time, well, where will money and men come from? And Mahaprabhu, it's described, directly spoke that I will provide. So when any of these personalities, these great illustrious personalities, will join the mission of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and there are so many of them, Srila Bhakti Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj describes in that beautiful book, My Beloved Masters, one after the other, Srila Pramod Puri Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakshak, all of these personalities. He would comment, oh, my Mahaprabhu has sent this personality to join he would be seeing, he would have that type of vision. So all of these personalities are exceptional. And this personality today is absolutely extraordinary. He took his birth in 1906 and he left this world in, I think it was, I don't have the date of his departure. But
I'll try and find it, Maharaj, for you.
Okay, yeah. But he took his birth and in a very aristocratic family. So many of the young men who joined Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati were from higher class families. This is significant. They weren't just sort of uneducated, lost souls, so to speak. They'd been born into business families, or they'd been born into some type of material wealth. So they had Paka education, etc. Now, Srila Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti Maharaj, he came to the mutt at an early age, when he was about 16 or 17. But then he was acknowledging the erudition of all the devotees there who were in the mutt at that time. And he determined that, oh, I must go and complete my educational studies so that I can sharpen my intellect, so to speak, at least materially, so I can keep up with these amazing souls. So he went back to complete his education. At that time, he started to study law. He went into law college. But after 2 years, my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, he describes that Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he came to him while he was in the school. This was after Sri Swarup Siddhanti had already met Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, but he came to him while he was in the law school and explained to him that we haven't come to this world to accumulate rational, logical knowledge or bhautik gyan. This is not the purpose of our lives. We have come only to absorb the transcendental knowledge that is emanating from the lips and writings of the Goswamis and principally of Sachinandan Gaura Hari. This is our only intention. So Srila Bhakti Keshav Maharaj very much enticed him. At that point, he didn't complete his studies at law. He could see sufficiently, yes, why am I just wasting my valuable life here? You know, trying to get some material, what do you call, letters after my name. What do you call that? I don't know. Anyway,
Title?
what do you call it?
Accreditation.
Yes, accreditation from the establishment, so to speak. Why am I even interested in that? So he dropped it instantly as soon as he understood. He understood immediately, because these souls are incredibly pure. They're not ordinary souls, as is seen in the life of their activities when they take up full seva to the mission of their beloved Gurudev. First of all, what they exhibit most fully is their Guru Nishta. And this is what I'm sharing principally about today, about their absolute dedication to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So these are great souls, but they are seeing something even greater in Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. This is what they are all acknowledging. And of course, he is acknowledging his great father, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So this is the current. And without this acknowledgement and this devotion to our preceptors, then the current can't flow into our hearts. So it's absolutely essential to be connecting diligently with all these personalities, as I'm trying to sort of put them together like in a staircase, so to speak, with appreciating where does Srila Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti fit into this. He was a great stalwart follower and dedicated sevak of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. His delivery, it's described, was quite blunt and quite forceful, because he himself had been pulled out of an academic career, so to speak, to dedicate to his life to transcendence. So when he would meet other academic scholars or people who were putting the establishment first, he was so much realized that this was not the purpose of life. So he would speak very strongly against this. And there was a very famous incident which my Gurudev describes, and which Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj describes, that one time in South India, there was a large gathering, something like 20,000 people had gathered to listen to the Vaishnavas speak Harikatha. And Srirupa Siddhanti Maharaj, he was just a brahmachari at that time, and he spoke first, but he spoke very heavily against the Ram Krishna mission, and also against Vivekananda, who are held in high esteem in practically the rest of India. They are held in high regard. But as far as the Vaishnava appreciation of these personalities, it's very, very minimal, because they weren't propagating devotion exclusively to Radha and Krishna. It was much more of a mixture of liberation and bhakti. It was as if the Ram Krishna mission and Vivekananda, they had sort of mixed up a package to make a sort of quasi spiritual doctrine that would appeal to so many general people, like to the masses. So this is not the Vaishnava path whatsoever. We were listening yesterday, I think it was Jiva Pavana Prabhu was saying how Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada would sit there and quite happily call everyone hogs, dogs, camels, and asses, and, very much so, like not trying to flatter and patter, the general populace. This is not the job of the Vaishnavas. That's not our purpose, is to come out in favor of all the popular fads and trends, the new age or this or that or the other. We are really digressing when we try to follow or cater to that type of mentality. We're watering down, we're weakening the speciality of what we have. And the speciality, of course, is Parakiya Bhav. This is what Mahaprabhu wanted to give, this Swabhakti Shriyam that Rupa Goswami has defined most clearly. So we shouldn't water this down. There shouldn't be a need to compromise like this. We only compromise when we're not fluent in the subject matters ourselves. We should understand that. If we're thinking, yes, I'll just preach very basically, this is probably because I don't want to go the mileage and make the extra effort to actually study what all the principal precepts that our Guru Varga is offering and giving to us. Because yes, we can be very popular. Many people can come and they can love what we say and etc. But this is not really going to give the desired result that Mahaprabhu is anxious to bestow upon the jiva, which is something beyond this material conditioned consciousness. So I would like to read today, if you can be patient, and because I was reading from Srila Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj's homage to Srila Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti Maharaj. I was reading his homage today, along with Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj's, but Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, he encapsulates everything quite succinctly. So I just wanted to share a little bit of this and see where that goes. So Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj at one large conference, he's glorifying him. He's saying, almost all of our God brothers are one by one making their grand departure to join our Sri Guru Pada Padma, who has long since entered the eternal pastimes of the Lord. Each and every one of these God brothers embodied extraordinary and divine specialities. Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, he said repeatedly, every time he glorifies any Vaishnava, the first thing he said, appearance and disappearance days are non-difference. There's no difference between, now it's alluding to his departure pastimes, but departure or appearance makes no difference because we get a chance to glorify a particular person. That's the idea, that's what we're doing. We're trying to glorify this particular person, whether it's appearance or disappearance. Today, it happens to be appearance, but that doesn't make any difference. Each and every one of these God brothers embodied extraordinary and divine qualities. This is what I was saying. They were sent directly by Mahaprabhu. It is impossible to find anyone who can fill the void they have left. Thus, the Gaudiya Vaishnava community has gradually become thoroughly deprived of its precious jewels, and our worshipful Siddhanti Maharaj was one of these effulgent gems. So this personality, very powerful preacher. He had many followers when he left this world, and he could cut arguments, and he was very direct in his preaching. He didn't namby-pamby around, and this would ruffle feathers, just as Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati ruffled feathers, just as my Gurudev ruffled so many feathers with his standing for Radha Dasyam. So many of the Gaudiya Vaishnava groups were condemning my Gurudev. Why are you speaking so boldly this confidential Ras Katha? We should work it much more gradually. Why are you reading to these low-class Westerners Prem Samput in the month of Kartik? Why are you taking that bold step to do like that? These personalities, they are empowered. And each of these personalities has their special jewel-like gift, which is what Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj is alluding to. It's like we see with Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj. He was telling us to worship the Vaishnavas. He was putting this on the map. My Gurudev was putting Rasa Tattva on the map. Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada for us Westerners, because he came specifically for us Westerners. He put Krishna into the heart of the Western. We didn't even have God, what to speak of Krishna. So he gave that monumental gift. And all the other personalities are giving their speciality. They're all bringing different facets to the yajna stali, to the fire of devotion that is manifesting originally from Sri Radhika, her love for Krishna. This is where it's emanating from. This is the origin of our line. This is the heart of it that we have to appreciate. Then he goes on to say, the most worshipable Prabhupada had a special desire to publish and circulate Gaudiya Vedanta Acharya Srimad Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu's Sri Govinda Bhasya commentary on Vedanta, as well as the Isha, Kena, Katha, Prashna, Manduka, Aitareya, Taitreya, Chandogya, Brihat Aranyaka, Svetashvata, and Gopal Tapani Upanishads. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he wanted to publish these. And who was able to do this? Ultimately, it's Srirupa Siddhanti Maharaj. He was the one who actually brought these divine scriptures to the surface by his hard endeavor. Complete with Anvaya, word-for-word translations that follow the sentence structure. Pujyapada Siddhanti Maharaj dedicated himself to fulfilling this cherished desire of our most worshipable Srila Prabhupada. And thus, by accomplishing this great service for the Gaudiya Vaishnava community, he became a recipient of Prabhupada's profuse mercy. This was a great, great gift. He knew the heart of his guru. Simultaneously, by hearing all these things, it should inspire us. What is the heart of my guru? My guru wants us, for example, to go on Vrindavan Parikrama. And this is what we're doing now. Even we're faced with lockdowns and so many obstructions to actually coming here, still by the mercy of our dear Yashodanandan Prabhu, we've erected this Zoom platform. And I personally feel that we're able to travel around Vrindavan by consciousness during this celebrated month of Kartik. I am feeling I'm completely in Vrindavan while discussing all these different pastimes. And I'm praying that you also will getting some flavor, especially if you've been previously to Vrindavan and you remember all the different places and the atmosphere of the different holy places. Yes, we're there. Why not? Because it's saying what Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtanam Smitya Kramana Rasanam Nasidyoja Tishtem Braje Tanuragi Janugami, that one must remain in Vrindavan. And it's saying in the commentary or in the purport by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada that if you can't be there directly, at least be there by mind. But the strange thing is that many times when devotees go there physically, their minds are not there. Their minds are on their sore feet, or there's dust in their lungs, or, you know, they got, you know, mosquitoes bothering them at night, or they've got to run to the bathroom every 10 minutes or something. There are so many distractions, but here we don't have any of those distractions. So we can fully immerse ourselves for one whole month of Kartik within the flavor of Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar performing his immaculate pastimes with his parikas, Yashodama. We're hearing the Damodar Astakam. We're hearing in such detail the Damodar Astakam. Actually, we haven't even really begun it yet, but we're going to get more intensely into it, hopefully, if we have sufficient time. So, and of course, the most esoteric pastimes at Radhakund, the most esoteric pastimes at Vamsivat, at so many celebrated places, at Ramgat, so many celebrated places where the conjugal pastimes were performed. And we're at liberty to speak about these pastimes because it's Kartik and it's the month of Sri Radhika. It's her month. So we have the stamp of approval, so to speak, to bring these pastimes to the surface and hear about them. So he's saying that he accomplished this great service of publishing these books. And another paragraph here is saying, Pujapad Maharaj appeared in an aristocratic devotee family in the Barishal district of East Bengal on 22nd of October, 1906. on the 5th day of the waxing moon during the holy month of Kartik. He first came to the lotus feet of the most worshipful Srila Prabhupada in Kolkata in January 1924. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, I think, came in 1922. My Gurudev took his birth in 1921. So these dates can be significant if we want to get a map or a flow chart of where all this current is manifesting. Srila Prabhupada in 1924. In March of that same year, on the auspicious occasion of the Sri Guru Purnima, he received Mahamantra and Mahamantra Diksha, initiation from Srila Prabhupada, and was given the name Sri Siddha Swarup Das. Sri Siddha Swarup Das was his initial name. But prior to this, it's described that he already came and he'd already met, he'd already heard. He was already aware of the prominence of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but he hadn't joined because he felt obliged to continue his material education. This next little paragraph is titled A Life of Dedication. Being completely captivated with Krishna, he joined the Math at a very young age when he was still in school. However, according to the desire of his parents and elderly family members, he was ordered to return to his home and finish his studies. This actually indicates a very dharmic background where you are totally complicit with whatever your parents say and your elder members of the family. It's not at all like we are in a completely different civilization here in the Western world. Totally. We don't even reckon up as far as this Indian civilization that we're hearing about. Is that the standards that they keep. I've seen, and many of you will have, like men of 60 or 70 years old coming to visit their parents. The first thing they do is touch their lotus feet. I mean, how endearing is that? In a relationship, Yashoda, can you imagine touching your mother's lotus feet every morning? I mean, how special would that be? If
I
we were
told
blessed.
her about it. She wanted me to start, even though she doesn't even like India. She thought that was a good idea.
Yes, it would be, because it's a active bodily expression of respect. That's what it is. And the person, especially an older person, receiving that type of respect immediately endears that older person to reciprocate with their mercy to the younger person instantly. Like Ramananda Prabhu, if your daughter comes and immediately touches your feet or something like that, I mean, your heart will just melt. Of course it will melt. And you'll just want to give her the highest possible thing that you can think is going to be of most value to her. That's naturally how, you know, a father will feel, or a son towards their child or whatever. So this is culture. This is real. So all of these personalities who came to Srila Bhakti Siddhanti Saraswati, they were all steeped in that mood and that culture. By us hearing about this, then it will inspire some type of aspiration to move in that direction in our various material even relationships that we have. How can we engender? Because personally, I feel that, you know, what is vital amongst the Vaishnava community is to generate respect for each other across the board. We know that Vaishnava aparad is the cutting, tragedy for our progress. But if we can diligently cultivate how to, like we start off with Vaishnava Vandanam when we're glorifying, we have a Mangalacharyan, etc. We don't just come in and speak. You know, I can remember once I was at a function actually in ISKCON, and some of the gurus, they didn't even have a Mangalacharyan. And it was like, wow, it just felt really not at all paka. Because unless you're invoking the mercy of your guru and guru vargya, then what possible words of wisdom can emanate from you, or anything of value can come from you, unless we're connecting with the current. So as I said at the beginning, when we looked at that map of our Guru Varga, and I also commented, by the way, that I thought the map was very limited. And I'm really hoping that some graphic artist will give us a much better picture of, you know, our Guru Varga manifesting. Because for myself personally, I'm very ignorant. I'm not very smart at all, but I work in visuals. If I see something, then I can kind of like accept it into my heart. I'm much easier to appreciate truths in that light. So if there is a graphic artist who could do like that, it would be wonderful. So I'm continuing reading here. He was ordered to return to his home and finish his studies. After quickly completing his schooling, he returned to the Mutt sometime around February 1928, and to the utmost degree dedicated his life to the service of Sri Guru Pada Padma. So when we read about the service that they performed, this leaves us really in awe of these persons. We hear about Srila Vamana Maharaj, we were hearing about Srila Trivikram Maharaj, we were hearing about my Gurudev, we're hearing about Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada and their absolute dedication. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada rising every day, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, and doing his purports in a dedicated way. Whatever the circumstances were, he'd be writing his Bhagavatam purports. How else was he going to complete 332 chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam in his limited amount of time with all the preaching? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the same. It's described, we can read that he would take his rest at something like 7:30, 8 o'clock. He would rise at 10:30 and start his writing or start his reading or his study. And then he would start his mala at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. So these are the examples of these personalities that we should aspire to emulate if we want to have the same mercy that they are offering to us. There's another caption here. It's described as the distinguished speaker. Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnavas under Srila Prabhupada's guidance were immensely pleased by Sri Siddhanta Swarups, does his sincere service efforts. As tokens of Sri Guru Pada Padma's pleasure, he was awarded the Sri Gora Ashishvad titles: Upadeksha, instructor; Mahopadeksha, great instructor; and Vidya Vigisha, master of knowledge and speech, by the Navadvip Prachani Shaba. As a brahmachari, before he was sannyas, he was given these very honorific titles. He accompanied expert senior Tridandi sannyasis like Tridandi Swami Srimad Bhakti Pradeep Tirtha Maharaj, Tridandi Swami Srila Bhakti Vivek Bharati Maharaj, Tridandi Swami Srimad Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, and Tridandi Swami Srila Bhakti Hridai Bon Maharaj, to various places in Bengal. Just by mentioning these names, be patient hearing this. I hope that you're able to listen. I hope that it's not boring reading. Sometimes reading can be a little tedious, but I hope it's not, time isn't dragging for anybody. I mean, if you want to unmute people and people can make comments as we go through, I'm very happy for that. So this is describing his preaching in Bihar, Orissa, Madras, Andhra Pradesh, and West India. Traveling in India is no luxury, as I think we all know. Even if you're the most wealthy man and you want to travel in India and you don't have your own private jet, then you're going to have a bumpy ride wherever you are. I can remember once entertaining this billionaire from the Fisher Mansion in Detroit. He came, I've forgotten what his name was, not Alfred Ford, but one of his friends. And he had a Mercedes Benz that he wanted to go on a Parikrama around Govardhan Hill. So he had a chauffeur who was all dressed in white collar and white peaked cap and everything, white boots, and very smart. And it was a big, you know, luxury Mercedes-Benz. So he wanted me to come with him and accompany him. And what happened, it was a bit rainy near the rainy season. And the car got stuck in the mud in Anayor. And the driver in all his white suit had to get out, and we had to push, you know, the car through the mud. And of course, I was reflecting at the time, even if you have, you know, the highest apparent material conveyance, you still have to come into the dust and mud of Braj. So it was very appreciative that Krishna should arrange such a circumstance that even this wealthy person had to get out of the car and push the car. Like, you know, the wealth doesn't cut in Braj. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? You can understand?
Yes.
Okay. Preached in many places. He also preached in many places with Nitya Lila Parvishta Param, Pujapad Siddhanti Swami Srimad Bhakti Dvaita Madhav Maharaj, who during the manifest time of Srila Prabhupada was known as Vigmi Pravar. Sripad Hayagriva Brahmachari Prabhu, gradually, by the grace of Sri Hari Guru and Vaishnavas, he emerged as a distinguished speaker. Those members of the aristocracy who were earnest and appreciative became deeply attracted to his fearless and potent expositions of the proper verdicts of scripture. So I was reciting a story previously how he went to this program and he presented about Vivekananda and the Ramakrishna mission, and totally freaked all the audience out to such a degree where they published these pamphlets around, they circulated these pamphlets the next day, that everyone should boycott the program. They weren't going to go to the program. So this was relayed to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was so pleased when he heard the reaction. He said, this person must have been speaking really clear Harikatha to have had that type of effect. Even if it appeared a negative effect, it didn't matter. It was a powerful impression that he was giving. And it was based on Siddhantic focus. There was no compromise with his Siddhanta that he was presenting. It was the truth. And the next day, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, I believe it was, came and sort of ameliorated them all and pacified them to some degree, but again, substantiated what he was saying was correct, but he was just saying it a little strongly. So this fearless nature he possessed, although he was severely opposed by several narrow-minded atheists who interpreted his words as an attack on their interests, he never hesitated to expound the truth, which dispels the ghoul of illusion in accordance with the ancient tradition of those who have heard it from an authoritative source. So if we hear from the authority, from the authentic source, the actual truth, this is the greatest nourishment any person can receive. This is why we should be fearlessly presenting these teachings today. For this reason, he became the recipient of the most worshipful Prabhupada's profuse mercy. Just a small paragraph here, I'll just conclude. In 1941, Pujapad Siddhaswarup Brahmachari Prabhu accepted sannyas from our god brother, Sri Bhakti Vigyan Ashram Maharaj, and adopted the name Siddhanti Swami Srimad Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti Maharaj. In each of his 3 mats, the Pujari devotees worship unprecedentedly beautiful deities of Sri Sri Guru Gauranga, Radha Govinda Jui. Additionally, the walls are adorned with striking depictions of Sri Gaura Leela, Sri Krishna Leela, and Sri Ram Leela that capture the essence of the scriptural teachings. This is in his own temples. This is in the temples that Srila Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti manifested his own temples. Simply by viewing these depictions, earnest viewers receive the fortune of accumulating much knowledge of the proper verdicts of the scriptures. These depictions remain on display even today, but since Pujapad Maharaj is no longer to be seen, viewing them simply causes our hearts to drown in anguish. Then there's a beautiful quote from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kripa Kori Krishna More Diachile Sange, Svatantra Krishnera Icha Hoile Sangha Banga. Mercifully, Krishna gave me his association. By Krishna's independent will, our exchange has ended. So this is our Pujapad Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj's offering to Srila Rupa Siddhanti Maharaj. And today I'm reading from that in celebration of his appearance day in our Gaudiya line and to appreciate the current of our Gaudiya line in connection with this personality and his nishta to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. And we can consider his nishta to Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, etc., Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So just considering constantly our Rupanuga Guru Vargya. And each person we think of, we should have sufficient understanding or information or knowledge of their great gifts to this line and intention of Mahaprabhu in giving the conditioned soul this gift of Swabhakti Shriyam. Sri Rupa Goswami, he's said at the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anapita chirim chirat kurunai varati nokalo samara paitam unnata ujjvala rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Haripurata Sundarata Dikatam Satabita Sadashra Dare Kandare Spuratuva Sachinandanaha. So Rupa Goswami, he's given, and then Swarup Damodar at the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's given the identity Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritiya Hladini Shakti Asmad. He's given this, and he's given the three. Who is Mahaprabhu? Without connecting with Mahaprabhu through this current, what is the value of our life? It's such a unique time. That map I showed you at the beginning, I personally think is incredible. When you see that map in the day of Lord Brahma, 8,640,000,000 years is the day and the night combined. And only once does Brajendra Nandan, Shyam Sundar, and Sachinandan appear. And we today are sitting right on that line. We're not only sitting on that line, but we're in a very powerful window within that time frame. Practically, it's got to be an ignorant man who's not appreciating the transition that's globally manifesting right in front of us. I mean, for the last 2 years, basically, everything's gone pretty much haywire with the established order of life, etc. And so many wake-up calls must have come in the consciousnesses of all the people on the planet, what to speak of the devotees. Surely we understand this is all connected with Sachinandan Mahaprabhu's mission. Of course it is. How could it be? It's such an all-encompassing global situation that has caught everyone up. You know, when so much deception and false or corrupt veils have been stripped from the vision of just general people. And as a consequence of this, they are going to inquire, well, where is God at the end of it? Who is that person who's going to raise the flag high and say, we know who God is. We know where he is. We know what he wants us to do. We know this unique, because when you start to talk to a conditioned soul to change the whole dynamic around from asking God for something to actually, how can I serve God? What is the nature of this devotional service? It's only within the Hare Krishna group, within this lineage, that are presenting this appreciation of direct service to the Lord, not service to humanity. Because many religions, they will propagate service to humanity, giving the daily bread, etc. But this is not on that level. This is on a whole nother level. So we are being really shaken up, and the devotees have to quickly, urgently wake up to what is manifesting globally and how that can reflect internally in our urgency to pick up our service to Sri Guru in particular. So who is Guru? He's the repository of all these personalities we've just been touching on. I've touched on many personalities, I hope. I didn't mention Narottam or Shyamananda or Srinivasacharya or Srila Krishna's Kaviraj, these personalities, but we will at other times. But all of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladev Vidyabhushan has also been mentioned this morning or this afternoon. So just by mentioning these names, surely it will encourage us to become familiar or become cognizant of these personalities in our life. This is our family, as I said right at the very beginning. So this is where we find ourselves, in their tight embrace. So there I would like to end my offering to Srirupa Siddhanti Gosvami Maharaj today, and thank him for appearing in this world on this particular day to give us further opportunity to glorify our Guru Varga, which I'm sure if he was present today would be all he would personally want to do, would be to hear the glorification of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So we had that beautiful clip at the beginning of seeing the eloquent words and prayers of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Maharaj glorifying Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So we appreciate his extreme magnificence today through hearing the glories of his great dedicated stalwart disciple, Srila Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti Maharaj. So Sri Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti Maharaj ki jai. Gol Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhavaivacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavaya Namo. So if there are going to be any questions or discussions, that would be nice. And if they're not, I've decided that I want to, please, with your permission, carry on reading from where I was up to in the second verse, not to jump ahead to the third chapter, because there's so much juice in this second verse and chapter that we could hear and listen to together. Especially, it's going to go significantly deep into the Leela. So far today, principally, I've just spoken about the Guru Nishta and Guru Tattva to some degree, but to appreciate the Leela is the real balm of sweetness on the heart. So I think to conclude with the speciality of the sweetness would be very compatible to our overall program if the devotees want to continue this reading, unless anyone has anything to offer on this particular personality. Or, but I have a question for Ramananda Prabhu. So how many verses are in that beautiful, do we call it an astakam, that Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj? This Sujana Buddha Radhita, this song that we sing? You see, I'm so uneducated. Sujana Buddha Radhita Pada. So it's 260. So I'll answer the question myself by just looking in the songbook. But I didn't know how to reference this as an astakam or as what. How do you reference it? So there's 11 verses. So how do you, what do you call 11 verses? Ram? A bhajan, a prayer. Is there a name?
I can't hear you, Ramananda.
Dasakam +1 is the last. Hello?
Yes, I'm here. I'm listening. Oh,
Yeah, it's a
that's
dasakam with one probably Phalasruti at the end.
Okay. Yes.
I met Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti Maharaj, but I can talk at the end if you want to go on with this verse first.
No. You bring him now, because when we go into the Leela, we want to stay in the Leela. We won't come out again.
Okay. First of all, I always wanted to say Vivek. Oh boy, this word means to distinguish. The Ramakrishna mission took that and they called Ramakrishna Paramhansa, because the swan, this one has the tongue that can distinguish between water and milk. So they kept calling him Paramhamsa. There was even a disciple, one of the first disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta, they wanted to call him, or Bhakti Siddhanta suggested to call him Paramhamsa. And they said, no, Guru Maharaj, because Ramakrishna is called Paramhamsa, and they would think that he's Paramhamsa Das, so they changed it to Paramananda. But Vivekananda, you know, is the example that Prabhupada gives of someone that goes into a Brahma Samadhi and then falls back down. It's an actual verse in Bhagavatam, falls back down and starts doing social service. So the word Vivek in common usage since Vivekananda and Ramakrishna, now they've changed it from spiritual discrimination between matter and spirit to social servicing. If you say Vivek now, and so Vivekananda is the guy who takes an ecstasy in helping the people. It's pure material socialism. I even met a Vivekananda Nanda. So the smoke. Now that I've got that out of the way, Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti Maharaj, many of the other sannyasis considered him as brilliant as Jiva Goswami, and he had written one book which comprised all of the philosophies very, very elaborately. And Prabhupada sent me to Madhusudan Maharaj in Mayapur. He, you know, was formerly an editor of the Amrita Prasad Patrika. I still remember. And I said, Prabhupada sent me to him to ask about how to prepare Jagannath deities in Puri. And so he gave me the name and sent me maybe a little letter of introduction to a Shilpi Mistri. That doesn't mean mystery. Mistri means a artisan. So Madhusudan sent me to him. And for a few weeks, I stayed in Puri in a guest house with another brahmachari, and while the Jagannath deities were being carved. At that time, I heard that Siddhanti Maharaj's ashram was nearby. So every afternoon, I would go to hear him speak. And just as wild as he was in that village that started a riot, he was the same way. His ashram, this is so yummy. His ashram was right on the border of the Govardhan Mutt. Sounds Vaishnav, right? No, that's the ashram established by Adi Shankara 2,000 years ago as one of the major peeths. That's why sometimes many of the pandits in Jagannath Puri are actually Shakta and Shaivite. They say, Bon Maharaj told me that they think Jagannath is Shiva and Bimala Devi is Durga. What Balaram is doing there, I don't know what they think. But his ashram was right on the border, and he was giving katha every day, Charitamrita. Actually, when he came to speak, Rav Haridas Thakur from Charitamrita, tears just shot out his eyes. They splashed on the inside of his glasses. But then another time, he couldn't hold it back. And so his ashram was facing the back end of the Adi Shankara Govardhan Mutt, and all the samadhis of former Shankaracharya were there. And he started on a loudspeaker, Jadi Jagan Mithya, Kano eta Mora Sharira Mandirache, Samadhi Mandirache. He's screaming, if you think this world is false, then why do you have temples for all your acharyas' dead bodies? I thought there'd be another riot. And I say it would be like standing in the plaza of St. Peter's Basilica with a bullhorn, cursing the Pope. You'd get killed. And he went on like that, laughing. So I kind of left early today. He would not hold back anything. Sridhar Maharaj told me, he said, brutal. He's brutal. So that's my offering to Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti. He had his own car. There's a few, he had a car. So that's my offering. Haribol, thank you. I can't hear you.
Tears shooting out of his eyes and hitting his spectacles. That's amazing. Amazing. I don't know these people. I want to get to know these personalities, and by trying to churn their glories regularly every single year, whenever one of these appearance or disappearance days arises, you know, to take advantage of it. But that's very beautiful contribution that you've just offered us, Achyutananda Prabhu. Thank you. It's amazing to have met somebody who's actually met him. This is really exceptional. Exceptional fortune. We're all most fortunate on this Parikrama today to have Achyutananda Prabhu present with us to share this. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything? Otherwise, I've got, what, half an hour or so left?
Oh,
If you'd like me-
someone found, Janardhan Prabhu found a much more comprehensive image of the parampara that he wants me to share.
Go on then, try it out.
You can talk on.
Oh, that's nice. But it doesn't have any design to it. I mean, personally, I really want this, but I want it with a more like a river flowing between them. But at least I can see that. At least I can comprehend that. I can print that out and look at it and meditate on it. Yes, absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. This is our family, our parivar. It is. Right, Achyutananda Prabhu? This is where we are in this family. Thank you. Thank you, Tarunji. Thank you, Janardhan Prabhu. Thank you. Okay, so if there's no comments or questions, and with people's permission, I'll commence again. Damodarastakam. Yashoda Prabhu, nothing to add?
Yeah, I was just waiting to be called on. He disappeared on the 15th of October, 1985. That's the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti Gosvami Maharaja.
Okay, so he was 79 years old when he left then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And one thing I'd like to add, Maharaj, you were talking about how special it is that we're born at this time. 1/50th of a blink of an eye of Lord Brahma since the appearance of Mahaprabhu, and during these tumultuous global times. But in addition to that, one thing I've realized during this Kartik, and as a result of the Harikatha, is how actually it's even more special being born at this time than, say, even 300 years ago, because the access to the Rasa Tattva, the access to what Srila Gurudev has unpacked, is more prominent than ever. So we've kind of got the confluence of three things: Mahaprabhu coming, the accessibility to Rasa Tattva, Rasa Bhakti Rasa rather, and also the world events, which are probably going to accelerate even further. So it's quite an amazing pressure cooker.
These world events seem to compound our urgency. This is what the dynamic of it is, because as our traditional establishment is sort of collapsing, we can say, then this gives great inspiration to where are we going from here. And for the devotees, we have no confusion whatsoever.
Yeah.
But for so many in this world, they are so confused and bewildered totally. Everything they've ever believed in is sort of crumbling. And for the devotees, we don't have any confusion for this. It never was an establishment anyway for the devotees. It was always just a very temporary, moving civilization. I mean, America is only 250 years old, basically. It's not even ancient, you know. So I think in so many ways we're, yes, exceptionally blessed.
And that billion names, by the way, over 10 years is 158 rounds a day for 10 years.
How many rounds a day? 100?
158. there's 1 billion names over 10 years. That's extraordinary. That's probably 17, was it 17 hours a day? No, I reckon he was doing it in 13 hours a day.
Well, 64 rounds is a little more than a lakh.
Yes, correct. I think a lakh is actually 50. What is it, Achyutananda Prabhu?
There's no exact. There's no exact way to do it.
So we're talking about 2.5 lakhs. It's huge.
I think it was even more than that, Yashoda, that he was actually chanting, because Haridas Thakur was chanting 3 lakhs a day. And yeah, Haridas Thakur. But his dedication to Nam and what that dedication opened up for him should be great inspiration for us at this particular point in our history, in the world, so to speak, to take shelter more significantly of the process. And then all these things are going to, you don't have to be smart to chant. You just have to be dedicated to the process. So are people ready to sort of change tracks to the Damodarastakam, just to the end of this chapter? It's not very long, but if you're patient, or how is your time frame? Please, no one feel shy or embarrassed to leave if they have to go for their lunch or something like that. But I'm ready just to read to the end of this chapter if people want me to do that. Okay, I've got one response. It's nice to have a response. Not too many. Oh, another response too. Okay, 2 positive responses. I'm going to do. Okay, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Sri Damodar. Oh, 3 responses. 3 Sri Damodarastakam Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Kartik Brat Ki Jai. Haribol. So we've heard in the first verse the glorification by Satyabrat Muni, and we've begun the Leela of Mother Yashoda catching Krishna from behind. From behind is very significant. She didn't catch him from front. She caught him from behind. So this is also described by my Gurudev, that the significance of this, she couldn't get ahead of him, so to speak, but she caught him from behind. Actually, she caught him, my Gurudev describes, because Krishna turned back to see where his mother was. And in that instant that he turned back, she caught him. That was enough drop in his speed, because Krishna, even though he was a little baby, was able to sprint pretty damn fast. His mother is described, was not thin. She was like, full-bodied, and she was weighted down, etc. Beautiful, splendid hips and so on. But she was also determined. So this is a great lesson for us, how to catch that supreme person. First of all, she wanted to catch him, and then she wanted to bind him. So it's all in sequence here. So when she finally did catch him, now we went through the other day how she was gathering all these ropes together. And Krishna didn't want to be bound. So his Aishwarya Shakti was obstructing her. And it was fulfilling Krishna's desire. What was Krishna's desire? To steal more butter and to play with his friends, remember? So he didn't want to be bound, but nevertheless, Mother Yashoda's desire ultimately was more. So he was controlled by love. This bhakta vatsalyata, this being controlled by the love of his devotee. This is what this pastime really is going to be bringing out more and more, and how remarkable that is. So I'm reading from page 46. This is where we were up to last time. We just mentioned we'd brought Mahaprabhu's name into the description, and we'd read about Bhakti Ras that Mahaprabhu has brought into this world. But then we finished on a recitation of all these remarkable names, Swarup Damodar, Rai Ramnanda, etc. So just to connect with Mahaprabhu connects with the mercy. Now we have the qualification to go forward. So Mother Yashoda wound the rope around Krishna's belly, tied him to the grinding mortar, then went to churn the yogurt, her mind remaining on her son all the while. That's important to appreciate. Just then, Dham, Sridham, Sudam, Madhu Mangal, and Krishna's other sakas arrived. Mother Rohini also returned to Nanda Bhavan, from the house of Upananda, along with her son Baladev Prabhu, who then entered the group of suckers. When he saw that his little brother was tied up and that he was crying, he became furious. Tears mixed with black cosmetic ointment were streaming from Krishna's eyes. On one side, where the ointment had totally washed away, it looked like the clear river Ganga. And on the other side, where his tears were dark from mixing with the ointment, it looked like the blackish Yamuna. Thus the two rivers were cascading onto his chest. Enraged, Baladev Prabhu asked Kanaya and the Sakas, who bound him? Baladev Prabhu thought, whoever has bound my Kanaya, I will punish this very day. Then Madhu Mangal whispered into Baladev's ear, it was Mother Yashoda who bound Krishna. As soon as he heard Mother Yashoda's name, he became silent. Everyone's afraid of Mother Yashoda. The two boys are so afraid of Mother Yashoda. It's such a wonderful relationship that they have here. After a few moments, he tried to open the knot. However, he was unable to untie Mother Yashoda's strong knot. This is because the love of devotees, his Vatsalya Ras, parental love, is superior to the love of the devotees in Sakya Ras, friendship. At this time, appreciate that Baladev is in a mood of Sakya Ras. There are times when he's in a mood of Vatsalya Ras, when he's taking the position as being the elder brother of Krishna. So he's also experiencing that Ras at different periods. But now, specifically, he's in Sakya Ras. Incidentally, had Baladev Prabhu been situated in his form as Ananga Manjari, wherein he is devoted to Krishna in the highest Ras, Madhurya Ras, conjugal love, he could have untied the knot. But although all the Sakas kept working together to untie Krishna, they were not successful. Sri Krishna gradually stopped crying. Even he was unable to set himself free. Come on, the Sakas told him, we will tip over the grinding mortar and drag it out of the courtyard and play. At that moment, he remembered the incident that occurred long ago between the two sons of Kuvera and his dear devotee, and he thought, Devarshi me priyatmano, yadimo danat majo, tat tato sadyashtami yad gitam tan mahatmana. This is from the Bhagavatam 10:10-25. Devarshi Narad is my most dear devotee. Therefore, even though these two brothers, the sons of the most wealthy demigod Kuvera, had no devotion for me, still I must fulfill Sri Narad's words by appearing directly before them and granting them devotional service to me. He grants them devotional service to him because they become Madhukanta and Madhusnigdha. Kuvera was the dear friend of Devarshi Narad, and his two sons were Nala Kuvera and Manigriva. One day, while they were bathing in the Mandakini celestial Ganga with heavenly damsels, their intoxication from being wealthy, beautiful, figured, youthful, and of noble birth became further inflamed by drinking wine. At that time, Devarshi Narad passed by. When the ladies saw that he had come, they hurried out of the water, dressed themselves, and offered him obeisances. But Nalakuvera and Manigriva, blinded by arrogance, did not offer obeisances. In fact, they stood there naked and mused, where has this person come from? Ignoring the great sage, they shamelessly proceeded to call for the heavenly damsels to return. When Sri Narad beheld the degraded behavior of Nalakuvera and Manigriva, he was overwhelmed with compassion for them. Very beautiful appreciation. He was overwhelmed with compassion for them. Outwardly, he feigned anger and shouted a curse. Your behavior befits that of trees. So be it. Become trees. Upon hearing the curse uttered by Devarshi Narad, they were filled with fear. Falling at his feet and weeping, they begged for pardon. How can we be delivered, they asked. Sri Narad replied, both of you will become twin Arjun trees near the house of Nanda Maharaj in Gokul. At the end of Dwapara Yuga, Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna will deliver you in the course of enacting his childhood pastimes. So when it really comes down to it, so to speak, I was just reflecting as I was reading this with our various global difficulties when we get pushed into a corner tightly enough to force us to submit to Krishna. Perhaps many of our facilities may be removed. Perhaps even the internet may be removed at some time. What are we going to do? What are we going to depend on? We'll have an opportunity. Are we going to be present sufficiently of mind to depend on Krishna at that time? Or are we going to freak out and run out in the streets crying for someone else's help? Or will we turn to Krishna? These are the wonderful opportunities for mercy right now. So these two boys, can you imagine? All of a sudden, your feet start going hard like the roots of a tree. All of a sudden, you start getting bark on your shins. How will you feel? Oh my God, this is really going to happen. So then they start praying in that condition of urgency. So at the time of death, it's non-different to this. Even for devotees, we've heard repeatedly how death is just, Srila Prabhupada says, what did he say, Chudananda? Death is a symptom of material consciousness. This is how Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada describes death. Death is simply a symptom of material consciousness. It's not a reality for the soul. But how much faith do we have in that? When we're actually leaving the body, will we be taking shelter of Krishna? Or will we be wrapped up with various attachments for this bodily place where we resided for so long? Narad replied, both of you will become twin Arjuna trees near the house of Nanda Maharaj in Gokul. At the end of Dwarpa Yuga, Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna will deliver you in the course of enacting his childhood pastimes. When Shri Krishna remembered his devotees' curse, he was overwhelmed with compassion for the two sons of Kuvera. Just to deliver them, he dragged the heavy grinding mortar towards the extremely large Arjuna trees. There's a footnote here. Ancient Arjuna trees grow extremely large. According to Sri Narad's curse, Nala Kuvera and Manigriva remained in the form of Arjuna trees for 100 celestial years, or about 15 million earth years. 15 million earth years. That's a big, significant tree, Prabhus. Sri Krishna, where are we? Dragged the grinding mortar toward the extremely large Arjuna trees with all his friends. The trees were fused at the base, but somehow Sri Krishna passed between them. The grinding mortar, however, became lodged between the trees. As soon as Sri Krishna tugged at the grinding mortar with some force, the two trees were completely uprooted. At once, they began falling over and finally struck the ground, producing a deafening crash. Then from within the ancient trees, two divine personalities emerged. They circumambulated Sri Krishna and submitted prayers in glorification of him. After they begged to be forgiven for their offense, Sri Krishna explained, it is the unfailing result of seeing Sri Narad that even such rogues as the two of you are able to see me face to face. And the sum total of all the sins you have committed in your countless births has fled far away from you. May you attain Bhav Bhakti for me. Imagine the benediction of having Krishna's darshan directly, even though you've been such a reprobate. This is, in itself, is phenomenal, that Krishna should be so merciful to his devotee, Sri Narad. Everything is flowing with love and affection only. By Sri Krishna's causeless mercy, they resided in Goloka Vrindavan. From that point onward, they became the famous reciters, Madhukanta and Snigdhakanta. Thus, as Sri Krishna's special associates, they eternally narrate his unlimited pastimes in the assemblies of Sri Nanda Baba and all the gopis. So this is all described in Gopal Champu of Srila Jiva Goswami. He describes this very beautifully. That which cannot be attained even after accumulating pious credit, sukriti, for millions of lifetimes can be achieved very quickly by the causeless mercy of Sri Guru, Vaishnavas and Sri Hari. This is what we've been talking about previously for the last hour, glorifying our Rupa Nuga Guru Vargya and all these illustrious personalities just by getting their mercy. Today we have some mercy of Srirupa Siddhanti Maharaj. We've glorified him. We've heard the beautiful description by Achyutananda Prabhu. We've like directly touched him. We've connected with him. Mercy will come. A window is open. The devotees who are expert in relishing the loving moods of the Braja Gopis are the treasure house of Lovamoyi Bhakti, devotion to Sri Krishna that is full of intense longing. Among them, some exemplify one's own desired moods and are affectionate towards oneself, Sajatya Snigdha. If one gets their association, then he should realize that they are the most dear friends of his soul. With his life and soul, he should serve them and endeavor to purchase their mood. So this is very significant. Srila Gurudev is explaining to expect that person to manifest by the strength of, or hope, by the strength of our sadhan, bhajan, who is Swajatya, Snigdha, and Ashraya, more senior. That person who has that same mood, Swajatya, is his aspiration for Manjari Bhav, which is the gift that Mahaprabhu came to give. Is that his aspiration for us? So we should consider this carefully. What is our association? Who are we taking shelter of? Who are we following? We've just described we're following Rupanuga. We're following Rupa Goswami, rather. We're following all these personalities. We just enumerated on all these personalities and how they've all given their identities as sold-out maidservants of Sri Radhika. That's who they all are. This is who we're following and want to associate with. No one else. If someone else is advocating some other Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, something, we're not in that direction. But how can such moods be attained? When a person hankers for the same relations, sambandha, that these great Rasik devotees have with their Swamini, Sri Radha, and with her companions, and when he hankers to have the same deep possessiveness, mamata, for her, and the same intense inclination to serve her, seva vasana, then he can attain these moods. Only then can one truly serve such Rasik personalities, and then one's life is successful. There is no other way. There isn't another option, if that's what you want to get. Nanda Baba came running after he heard the deafening crash made by the massive Arjun trees as they fell. He saw Kanaya, still tied up, standing between the fallen trees. Nanda Baba was shaken to see Krishna standing so close to the fallen trees and thought, today Sri Narayan has given us so much protection. What would have happened if Kanaya had been underneath these trees when they fell? What is Krishna arranging? Mother Yashoda also came running. When she saw the horrible scene, she entered into shock. Aghast, she thought, alas, what has happened? Nanda Baba asked the children, how did this happen? In their broken language, the children explained, Baba, as soon as Kanaya pulled the grinding mortar against the two trees, they fell over and two very beautiful people came out. They looked like demigods. They folded their hands and offered prayers to Kanaya. Then they circumambulated him and went north. But Nanda Baba was not convinced. He took Krishna on his lap. Krishna had been keeping silent till now, but as soon as he sat on his father's lap, he burst into tears and began to wail. When Nanda Baba and the cowherd boys saw Krishna crying, tears also started streaming from their own eyes. Nanda Baba pacified his darling son and untied the knot. The knot that bound Krishna was factually made of Vatsalya Ras, not rope. Consequently, only his associates in Vatsalya Ras or Madhurya Ras, conjugal love, had the power to untie such a knot. Krishna's friends in Sakya Ras and his servants in Dasya Ras, or those situated in a passive or neutral relationship with him in Shanta Ras, could not have untied the knot tied by Mother Yashoda. Even within Vatsalya Ras, there is a gradation. The love of Mother Yashoda, who actually bound Krishna, is superior to the love of Nanda Baba, who released him. Srila Gurudev gives many tattvas along the way. When Mother Yashoda saw what had happened to her Kanaya, she could not move. She simply stood there like a statue. She could not even cry. Nanda Baba made Kanaya a little peaceful and then gave him a sweet laddu from his cloth bag. Kanaya, he asked, tell me, who tied you up? Mother, Kanaya replied. Becoming silent, Nanda Baba then resolved to punish Mother Yashoda with the greatest punishment a loved one can give. For the entire remainder of the day, Nanda Baba did not speak a single word to her. In a grave mood, he took Krishna and Balaram in his arms and went to bathe in Brahmand Ghat. We went to Brahmand Ghat from Gokul, you'll remember. After everyone had bathed, he returned with them to the Goshala, the shelter of the cows. Meanwhile, Mother Yashoda had become as dry and lifeless as a piece of dry wood. In the Goshala, Nanda Baba filled Krishna's and Balaram's bellies by giving them rock candy and squirting milk into their mouths directly from the cows' udders. When they came home, Mother Rohini served the food she had prepared, and Nanda Baba silently fed the children. After they had finished, he took some himself. Then they returned to the Goshala. In the evening, Upananda's wife came to Nanda Baba along with Mother Rohini and the other older ladies of Braj. Mother Rohini told Balaram, go now and bring Krishna. That day, however, Krishna had given Balaram such a push that he fell quite far backward. Finally, Upananda's wife and Mother Rohini spoke to Kanaya because Balaram, he came. But Krishna was unhappy that Balaram hadn't been there to protect him. So he pushed him very heavily previously. Look, Kanaya, they said, your mother is crying so much. Go to her. No, I will not go, he answered. Then come to me, Rohini said. But Kanaya answered strongly, no, I won't go near you. When mother was tying me up, I called to you so loudly, but you did not come. I won't even go near you. With whom will you eat? Asked Mother Rohini. With father, he answered. With whom will you play? She asked. With Daubai, my big brother Balaram. But whom will you sleep? With father. Rohini said, until now, you have always slept next to your mother, but today you will sleep with your father? Your mother is crying for you. Then Nanda Baba said, should I beat your mother? Upon hearing these words, Kanaya stopped his father's raised hands in answer. Then Rohini said, and if Mother Yashoda suddenly dies, then? As soon as Krishna heard this, he burst into loud sobs and ran into Mother Rohini's lap. She brought him to Mother Yashoda, and when she placed him in Yashoda's lap, Yashoda began to weep loudly. Shri Krishna also cried. Shri Nanda Baba's heart melted, and he began to cry. Rohini and all the other residents of Braj who were gathered there also began to cry. Weeping filled the entire atmosphere. Finally, the respected elders of Braj pacified everyone. That night, when it was time for dinner, Nanda Baba told Kanaya, go and bring your mother to me. Shri Krishna immediately went and caught hold of his mother's veil, and altogether she hesitated to go. And although she hesitated to go, Krishna brought her to Nanda Baba. She served dinner to everyone, and they took their meal with great joy. Thereafter, Mother Yashoda took Sri Krishna up in her arms and went to her bedroom. How beautiful. This is Dambanda Leela, as opened up by our beloved Gurudev. So when we read these pastimes, we are there. There's no doubt we are there. And the ocean of emotion that flowed from the hearts of all the Brijbasis at the end, when Mother Yashoda was able to embrace her Lala after this tumultuous, torturous churning. This is what Krishna is doing. He's churning the hearts of the Brijbasis. All of his pastimes are with the same intention, to churn the affection, to make it thicker and deeper. Love is a dynamic. It can't be static. It has to be ecstatic. It has to be moving. Otherwise, it's not love. So this is the ecstatic result of this pastime, is the bliss and sweetness. So Damodarastakam Ki Jai, gold Premanandi. I think we're right on time, Yashoda. It's 12 noon.
Yes.
Tarunji.
Haribol.
Haribol.
Thank you very much.
Manchakapa Trubhishcha, Kripa Sindhavija, Patitanam Pavnibhyo Vaishnavavino Mahal.
Sorry, my dad came in at that precise moment. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for this beautiful katha. Really nice to keep hearing these leelas of Krishna as well, to stay absorbed in Braj all the time. Sorry, not right now. Not right now.
Maharaj, I had one quick question for you.
Go ahead, Yashoda.
Can you just tell me, it says the same intent, there's a beautiful paragraph on page 49, how the only way to make progress is to have the same sambandha that these great Rasik devotees have with their Swamini, their Mamata and their Seva Vasana. What's the meaning of the word, the breakdown of the word Vasana?
Vasana. Krishna Seva Vasana. Krishna Seva Vasana. This is the gift that Sri Guru gives us. Our Swarup is already there. This is already inherent within the jiva. I'm not going to get into questioning it. This is how I understand it. The Swarup is inherent within the jiva, but the quality that's required is the Bhakti Lata Bij that Guru gives. And the Bhakti Lata Bij consists of the quality of Krishna Seva Vasana, the desire to serve Krishna. This is the meaning of Vasana. Krishna Seva Vasana, the desire to serve Krishna. This is the meaning. And Guru gives us that Bhakti Lata Bij, the desire to serve Krishna. And then, what's that? Kriti Sadhya Bhavat Sadhya Bhavsa Sadhanavita Nitya Siddhyasi Bhavasya. Then the Prakatam Hriti Sadyate, then the potential of the jiva will manifest by the Bhakti Lata Bij coming from Guru. But without that Bhakti Lata Bij, how can the seed manifest? Therefore, the necessity of association as well as its inherent must be there in the equation. It can't be without it.
So I thought that paragraph beautifully brought full circle the day, this third day of honoring the Acharyas, because we're honoring today Srila Bhakti Srirupa Siddhanti Gosvami Maharaja. You mentioned briefly about My Beloved Masters, which is an amazing book by Srila Bhakti Maharaj. And the purport of that whole book that I understand is that was his speciality. You were saying how every Acharya has their speciality. Srila Bhakti Maharaj's speciality is always serve the Vaishnavas. And that is expressed in that paragraph, that if we serve the Rasik Vaishnavas with that mood, then our lives will be successful. So I thought that paragraph really brought that into full focus.
Perfect, Yashoda. Perfect. Thank you. Oh, Achyuta Achyutananda Prabhu has a question.
Two questions. So we know Arjuna, Krishna's friend at Kurukshetra and his Mahabharata, and there's an Arjuna Gopi, and now there's Jamala Arjun trees. What does Arjuna mean?
And there's an Arjun Saka. There's an Arjun Saka, a cowherd boy, as well as Arjuna, a gopi.
Yeah. So
I don't know the etymology, Achyutananda Prabhu. I don't know the etymology of Arjuna.
Okay.
Someone like you should tell me.
Yeah. Sridhar Maharaj said, maybe we've all heard a different subject, but Raghunath Das Goswami said, I would rather hear the common talk of the local Brajavasis than listen to the Vedas. And why does he say so? And,
because Krishna would rather hear, I mean, sometimes we can say the word pompous. It's not really exactly pompous, but it's so much cased in Aishwarya mood of the beautiful royal prayers of the Vedas. But the pulling of the ears of Mother Yashoda by Mother Yashoda or the gopis calling him debauchee, etc., are so much more pleasing to Krishna.
No, he's talking about the local contemporary villagers in Vrindavan at his time, the common Loka Leelas.
Well, they are also the local villagers. Many of them are completely immersed in Krishna's pastimes. They celebrate all of the festivals. They all have, you've been there, they all have Giriraj Maharaj in their houses. They all offer all their bhoga. They may have deities and so on, but it's Giriraj Maharaj who, and he just takes the whole edge off any type of Aishwarya feeling. In contrast to here in Bengal, it's completely different. It's all Durga worship. It's all a whole nother dynamic. It's nothing like Braj at all. In Braj, still the flavor of the real Vrindavan is there. But here, it's not easy to appreciate Mahaprabhu, his presence, unless we focus on Nityananda and all the eternal parikars, like Mukunda Datta, Narahari Shakar, all these personalities. When we actually go to all their Shripats, Ishwara Puripad, Raghunath Das, all these personalities, when we go there, then we start to imbibe the mood of the real Nadia, the real Navadvip. But the local people, they're all, just like they were in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time, they're all worshipping Durga Ma. It's the biggest Durga festivals in the world here. You know this already, so it's quite a contrast externally between here and Vrindavan. I'm just throwing that in out of interest, say,
Yes.
from
Mayapur is named after Maya.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. And it's got that royal, huge, Vatican-like temple rising, meant to intimidate everyone. Okay, we're all honoring awe and reverence. It's not very. Anyway, we'll see how everything unfolds. I don't know what will unfold.
Well,
Mahabodhi Prabhu is here also. Dandavats Mahabodhi Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Jiva Pavana. Oh, Arjun means white or clear, Jiva Pavana is saying. White or pure. Achyutananda Prabhu, did you see that message in the chat? So if there's nothing else, Ramananda Prabhu is going to give us a kirtan according to his desire and heart. I think it's Damodarastika, perhaps.
Wants to say something, I think.
Question.
Okay.
I was muted, so they didn't let me say anything. It seems like in the reading that it said immediately that Krishna had bestowed Bhava onto Nalakura and Manigriva.
Bhav, not Bhava.
Bhav.
Bhava means the material world. Bhav means the spiritual emotion.
I stand corrected.
We say what? Cheto, Dapana, Marjanam, Bhava. Yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
So, but my question was about it. In Gopal Champu, it seems as if I remember that part correctly, that they did go back to their location in the heavenly planets, and somehow or other they again got the instructions from Narada Muni as they became immersed then in hearing about Krishna and serving, and then from that point there, they were again taken from that point at their time back into to family and on the outskirts of by the ocean there, and then gradually were brought into Goloka Vrindavan. So I was wondering the distinction about immediately given Bhav and seemingly the historical scenario in Gopal Champu seemed to be that they went back and somehow.
I think once
again,
the seed, Prabhu, once the gift of Bhav is there, then there's circumstances perhaps that may have some time lapse, and then it's going to manifest. It's not necessarily going to manifest instantly. I was remembering the pastime of Mukunda Datta today when he was told by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you won't see me for 1,000,000 lifetimes. When Mukunda Datta, remember the story in Srivasangam? Mahaprabhu was giving so much kripa to all the devotees, but not to Mukunda Datta. He was outside the door. And the devotees ran to Mahaprabhu and said, oh, why can't Mukunda Datta have mercy also? And he said, oh, he's been associating with Mayavads and different people. He was a kirtaniya, right, a singer. And so he would go to different groups. And then Mahaprabhu said, he will not see me for 1,000,000 lifetimes. And Mukunda Datta became so ecstatic that after 1,000,000 lifetimes, I will have darshan of the real identity of Mahaprabhu. So he became ecstatic. But it's like but still he had the seed and the greed. So Krishna, it's saying directly, may you attain Bhav Bhakti for me. Prabhu, Mahabudhi Prabhu, the actual words that my Gurudev was saying is interesting in that paragraph you're speaking. He said, you may attain Bhav Bhakti for me. That doesn't mean you instantly have Bhav Bhakti, does it? This reconciles totally what you were just saying, that there was a process they actually had to go through until they got that Snigdhakanta and Madhukanta forms. So there was a process, very interesting. Thanks for bringing that up.
No, but thanks for clarifying it. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay. So
anything else?
Yeah, just quickly thank everyone for their questions and interjections. Before we go on to Ramananda Prabhu's Kirtan, I would like to announce this evening's program at 6 p.m. with Srimati Vasanti Didi and Sripad Avadut Maharaj. And then tomorrow we have a very big
long day. It's a long day.
So we are going to Bojantali, Pichal Pahadi, Vyomasur's cave, Charan Pahadi, Vrinda Devi and Kameshwara Mahadev, Bimalakund and Adi Padrinath.
And there's also a kund called Dharmakund, which our dear Shriman Prakashatma Prabhu, he'll speak on that tomorrow also. Dharmakund is just before Bimalakund. It's one of the kunds that resides on the bank of Bimalakund. So we'll also touch that holy place. It's a long ride. It's a long bus journey. We go right deep into Rajasthan. It's actually the original home of Mother Yashoda. So it's some distance away. We'll have a map tomorrow to plan our journey so we don't get lost. I don't want anyone to get lost in Braj. So we'll have a clear, concise map of where we're going.
Jai. So exciting. So that is with Pujapad Nemi Maharaj, Pujapad Tridani Maharaj, and Shriman Prakash Atma Prabhu. Okay, I'm now going to hand over to Ramananda Prabhu to do the closing kirtan. Not really.
Oh. Hold on. What about now?
Say more.
Hello?
It's not coming so clear. Better.
Oh,
no,
okay. Good. Just a volume thing. You're gonna put the words up. Everybody knows it. Namami Shvara Sachidananda Rupa Lasat Kundala Gokule Vrajamana Yashoda Vyolukha Ladhavamana परां दृष्टमाद्य ततो धृत्य गोप्या नमामीश्वर सच्चिदानंद रूपा लसत्कुंदला गोकुले राजमान रुदंत मुहुर्नेत्र युगममृजन्ता कराम्भोजयुग्मेन सातंक नेत्र मुहुश्वासकाम्पा त्रिरेखांक कांथ स्थितग्रैवदामो दरं भक्तिवदं नमामीश्वर सच्चिदानंद रूप लसत्कुंदला गोकुले विराजमान इति दृक्स्वलीलाभि आनंद कुंदे स्वघोषं निमज्जन्ता आख्यापयन्ता तदीयेषिताग्येषु भक्तैर्जितात्वा पूर्ण प्रेमतस्ता शतावृत्ति वन्दे नमामीश्वर सच्चिदानंद रूप लसत्कुंदला गोकुले विराजमान वरम देव मोक्ष न मोक्षावधिं वा न चान्यं वृणेयः वरेशादपीह इदं ते वपुर्नाथ गोपाल बाल सदा मे मनस्यावि राष्ट्रां किमन्ये नमामीश्वर सच्चिदानंद रूप लसत्कुंदला गोकुले विराजमान इदं ते मुखं भोजम् अव्यक्तनीलैः वृतं कुन्तले स्निग्धरक्तैश्च गोप्या मुहुश्चुम्बितं बिम्बरक्ताधरं मे मनश्शविराष्टामलं लक्षलाभे नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं लसत्कुन्दलं गोकुले विराजमानम् नमो देवदामो दरानंत विष्णु प्रसीद प्रभो दुख जालाब्धिमग्न प्रसीद प्रभो दुख जालाब्धिमग्न कृपा दृष्टि वृष्ट्याति दीनं बतानु गृहानेशमामज्ञ एध्यक्षिदृश नमामीश्वर सच्चिदानंद रूप लसत्कुंदला कुबेरात्मजो बद्ध मूर्त्यैव यत्वा त्वया मोचितो भक्ति भाजौ कृतौ च तथा प्रेम भक्ति स्वकाम्ये प्रयच्छ तथा प्रेम भक्ति स्वकामे प्रयच्छ न मोक्ष ग्रहो मेष्टि दामोदरे नमामीश्वर सच्चिदानंद रूप लसत्कुंडला गोकुले विराजमान नमस्ते स्तुदाम्ने स्फुरदीप्तिधाम्ने त्वदीयोदरायाथ विश्वशधाम्ने नमो राधिकाय त्वदीयप्रियाय नमो नन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यं नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयप्रियाय नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयप्रियाय नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयप्रियाय नमो नन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यं राधा दामोदर दामोदर राधा दामोदर जय राधा दामोदर राधे जय गुरुदेवा श्रीला नारायण गोस्वामी जय गुरुदेवा जय प्रभुपाद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद जय भक्ति श्रीरूप सिद्धांति गोस्वामी भक्ति श्रीरूप जय श्री सिद्धांति गोस्वामी जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल
Thank you so much, Ram. Beautiful. Can hear it always, constantly. Wonderful. Never hear it enough.
You have to come to England, Maharaj, and do some programs here.
Why not? I'm from England. I'd love to.
Okay, so now we have come to the end of our program. Vancha kalpa truyascha kripa sindhu vaevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.